We are back with O'Brien Murray and J.C. Polanco, continuing our spirited conversation about the war in Iran and whether the president can get out.
This is tame, this conversation.
Here's the question. You know, a number of liberal Democrats were able to take House seats and defeat longtime congressmen, can you say Espaillat, and others, by arguing that there should be babies, not bombs. That was a winning argument in a number of districts here in New York. So if that's the case, and people feel strongly about the war, you raise gas taxes and other things, why doesn't the president simply get out?
Because you can't get out and you look like you lost. You can't lose a war to Iran. By leaving and keeping them in charge of the strait, that would be a loss. And we know that that would be an impossibility. You know, what you just said is interesting. Fun babies, not bombs. Those are the slogans that work.
That was a winning slogan.
Those are winning slogans, just like free buses, just like free daycare, just like free rent.
In the first term, the Abraham Accord, in the first term of President Trump, the Abraham Accords redefined the Middle East going forward. The war is now this term's event that's going to define the Middle East. Iran can control the strait if they let everyone come and go and they don't charge tolls. But they're talking about doing that. You cannot give them that, given where they want to go, where they've said they're going to go now. It's a different world today than it was 6 months ago.
Obi, the fact that President Trump went into Iran is the only reason why they now are flexing their muscle in that geographic part of the world.
So you're saying we should sit on our hands and for another decade and decade, president after president? Something had to be done.
No, so
the question is who was willing to do it?
We never had this issue in the strait until now. I mean, we went in there, and right now, if he were to leave, they'd have control of the strait, something that we didn't even discuss.
You don't know what happens in a boxing match till the first punch is thrown. And what happened was in this war, Iran decided, we're going to play it this way. We know what they're going to do to us. They're going to blow us up. They're going to try to decimate us. We will control what we can.
But now we have bodies coming back from the Middle East and the president having to go to Dover, Delaware to welcome home fallen soldiers.
And that's tragic. That is tragic in any war. Every president talks about being the toughest thing they ever do.
But now President Trump has had to have his face welcoming home fallen soldiers. It's not a good look.
It's not.
With midterms coming up. Is there any way for President Trump to get out of this war?
Flag-draped coffins are never a good look in this country. We always look at it and remember where we were when. We remember what is going on in this world. I've got friends that were brought home that way.
So does he escalate the war and drop the big bombs and be done with it? Or does he find some diplomatic way to pull back?
It's game theory. You cannot negotiate with somebody who isn't fair on both sides. You're not going to get a simple answer in any of this.
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's President Trump's communication and furtherance of this disaster. Do you know that after we lost those soldiers, including one from Queens, the president went to Truth Social and itemized the number of deaths for each war in contemporary American history and showed that we've only lost this many in this war. Almost like, give me a break, it's not that bad. His communication style is not for the moment. He hasn't met the moment in this circumstance. And I don't know whether he has the ability to meet the moment before the Midterm.
But here's my question to you. So the president got upset and said that from now on, if they don't stop, I'm going to start going after civilian targets. And the response from Iran was not, okay, fine, we're going to stop. It was, you go after civilian targets, we'll go after your civilian targets.
And if they do anything in the strait, they're going to then go after a bridge. They're going to go after a power center.
They're also going to go after
things.
Other places in the Middle East. They're not going to limit it. They're going to go after other Middle Eastern countries who have been our allies and who are maybe not going to be our allies when they start getting bombed.
Go ahead.
What a bad calculation. This was miscalculated, and a lot of it had to do, I think, with the people around him. If this was Trump 1.0, we would have not been in there like this. But he decided that he was going to go into Fox News and get reporters to lead the to lead the Department of Defense with very little experience managing wars and managing people. And we have the advice that the president should have gotten was, we have to be very careful here, President Trump. He didn't get that advice.
But that's the messaging side.
No,
the wars, the bullets, the bombs, the
none of this would have happened. But the people that were around him, they all got fired.
This needed to be done. You could not sit on, this country can't sit on their hands and be threatened by Iran year in and year out.
Like this, not knowing the outcome? There's no way you could tell me that we knew this was going to happen.
But something had to be done.
But what about the high cost? There's a continuing increase in cost. And by the way, there's also a depletion of our military reserves. So at some point, don't we have to stop?
No, we will have to stop. There has to be a moment where we stop. We have to leave it to our military leaders to decide this. But the truth of the matter is that politically, this does not sell well for the Republicans in the midterm.
One of the challenges in a campaign, in a war and so forth, we saw this in Iraq, when you start going after an enemy and you think you're going to win and you decide to take your foot off the gas a little bit, then they start regenerating things. They get energy, they get bodies, they get bullets, they get bombs. This time, we need to keep going all in, get it done, and be able to say, when do you guys want to stop? And make sure that they roll back over, let the Strait operate, let the Middle East operate, and they then can rebuild as a country and do what they want to succeed.
So if the president gets a resolution from both houses of Congress that says, we want you to end the war, what does he do?
He's not ending the war.
Based upon what? It's precedent for the president. They won't want to do it. The lawyers will be busy forever on that.
Yeah, he's not going to stop. Look, there's no other option than full win. He has to win now because he let off the gas several times. How many times did we not have a moment where President Trump laid off the gas?
The ceasefire count as days of war?
The ceasefire. None of that worked. So he has to, like you just said, he has to go all in. But then, like Marcia said, all of our friends and allies in the area are going to suffer because of it. My point is that Trump 1.0 would have never done this, not like this. And right now we're seeing
Iran is an epic version of what happened in Cuba.
Is he going to get out of the war?
Pardon?
Is the president going to get out of the war?
Yes. He is against forever wars. He will find a way to do this.
When?
The sooner the better. I don't have the plan. I don't know what pieces they're moving. But yes, this will not be a forever war. This will not go on and impact the election during the election. It's a question of how close to the election it goes.
So let's talk about this. This is going to be one of the issues in the midterm elections, but there's going to be other issues as well. For example, there were people who voted against continuing aid to Israel. They voted against sending $3.3 billion to Israel. Another issue is going to be the stopping Congress from investing in stock and things like that. So what happens? Which is going to be the issue that rises to the top and people say, that's the issue I'm going to vote for. That's the issue I'm going to vote for, a Democrat or Republican. What do you think?
All politics is local when it comes down to it. You have to have somebody to beat somebody. At the end of the day, it's going to be a question of what money is spent on what issues where. Because if somebody is a strong military leader historically and was in the service, it's a lot tougher to attack them and where they stand.
But the thing is, here's the bottom line. If you take a look at polls, the confidence in Congress is at probably at an all-time low in terms of the entire country. So which issue is it? I mean, is it the stop the insider trading act, so it makes you think that they're not trading and making profits? Is it people who are concerned about aid to Israel? Is it people who are concerned about high gas prices and the war? Is it a player yet to be named?
It's holistic. It's a whole bunch of different issues. I think the affordability issue is going to be number one. People are feeling this in their pocketbooks. They're feeling when they pay the rent, they go to the gas station, they go to the supermarket. They're feeling that more than anything else. The issue that you mentioned regarding Israel and funding, that sells very well in close party primaries and urban centers. But when you take a look at how people are feeling when they go to the gas pump, that's national. And I really think that the war is going to play a big role.
That's going to be issue number one.
That's going to be issue number one. But I want to just make sure that your viewers remember that every single midterm election is almost always bad news for the party in control by default. So even if things that we were not in a war, even if things were great, the party in control will suffer in the midterm elections and lose seats. So that's naturally going to happen. When you add the complexities of affordability and a war that's unpopular, it just makes it much more difficult.
I find it almost impossible to think that Congress's rating could be lower today than it ever was before. We're talking about things, though, too, is when you look at the ballot question on Democrats, Republicans leading Congress and where they are, the Democrats are barely ahead. It's only a couple points. That is something that is very significant when you look across the country and where they're going to come out and vote, who are they going to vote out. And don't forget, everyone says, get rid of everyone in Congress except my guy.
Right.
But let me ask you this question. Last week, the president tried to change the debate about the midterms by saying that there could be elections being stolen. The same issue of unregistered voters being able to vote, and raised the issue that the election could be stolen from you. Yeah. And some news organizations didn't cover it, some did. But then all of a sudden, the governor of New Jersey said, oh my God, we found out that 6,000 undocumented people were able to register to vote, and 400 of them actually did vote. Yeah. Having a Democratic governor give some credibility to a Republican president.
Yeah.
So do you think that the president can then sort of change the issue, as he calls it, the weave, and try to change the issue from the war and all the other things that people are concerned about, and have them think, oh my God, the election could be stolen, and now there's proof.
It's a 1-2 punch. Obi, give me a second. It's a 1-2 punch.
I keep doing that.
No, but so what we saw, thankfully, Governor Sherrill did the right thing, coming out and making sure that everyone.
But she
knew
had
about
no
it.
choice.
No, but I think it was the right thing to do. It was responsible.
I mean,
to do
if she covered it up, then she'd be charged with
Democratic
covering it
governor
up.
blames previous Democratic governor. Story at 11, Marcia. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, this is her saving herself and getting it out and
but
blaming
that's
somebody
not the
else.
point.
And
The
what it
point
does
is
is it
this.
gives the Republicans a talking
But the
point in that
is
fight.
This. She was able to say that the president's charge that undocumented people are voting is true
Yes.
in New Jersey.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's not just New Jersey. I mean, we're going to have to see now nationally how many of that is happening. Remember,
So my question is the president going to be able to get people to forget about the war in Iran, to forget about all these other issues in Congress, and look at the fact that maybe our elections are stolen, and therefore they should focus on that when they go to the polls?
I think that he needs everything he can. And look, when you say that people are registering to vote that are not citizens, and then you find that in New Jersey, that makes it look plausible. So yes, it's going to be a distraction. And I'll tell you what else is a distraction. When he says communists are getting elected, right? And they're going to get elected, we're not a communist country. That also works as well to try to deflect some of the bad news.
How much did Rudy lose the election in '89 by, Marcia?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. And then in '93, it was my first New York City election. We went out and we made sure it wasn't stolen for a whole different way. Different technologies back then, but there were people who have a list of where to go vote, and they go place to place. We followed them, we shut it down. There was already votes cast on the machines when they left the Board of Elections that are supposed to be recorded when they arrive there. As you were a commissioner, you know what this is all about. And it was never done. It was the first time we inspected every machine before they went out, recorded it. So if we ever had to challenge it, if it was going to be a recount, we were there. That was 1993, 1989.
Now the charge is that undocumented people are voting, not American citizens.
New Jersey, we saw it happen. And if we were to take an audit nationally, I think you'd find it. But the question
that just gets to the next question, which is that the president wants people to show identification in order to vote. How do you come down on that, given the fact that we now have this issue in New Jersey?
One person voting that shouldn't vote is one too many. One person not being able to vote that should vote is one too many.
Yeah.
It has to be done in a way that everybody has that opportunity.
If President Trump called me, I'd give him the Polanco solution. It's very easy. I think we could get consensus.
You have something easy?
I think so. Check this out. We have a moment where we have a free ID. So there's no questions about a poll tax. You make it free. You make it available widely. And then the Republicans stop their arguments about not accepting other forms of identification.
Democrats don't want people to have to show ID to go vote.
I know, but that's the Democratic.
The free part is the issue constitutionally. But what did you do to get the ID, though? It's free, but what do I take?
It's free. And what we'll do is that we'll make it available for people to be able to show their public assistance, their university, their college ID. But I got the solution, Marcia.
When I first started voting, which, as I was before the dinosaurs roamed the earth, but when I first started voting, I had to show my driver's license to show that I was Marcia Kramer.
Yeah, but Marcia, it's just a no-brainer. Look, and then
your address where you live. That's what that was.
There's a concern about,
and I had to show that I lived where I was voting.
There's concern about spouses that may have changed their maiden names. There's people that can get access to birth certificates. Those are all valid concerns. But
are they valid concerns or invalid?
They're valid concerns for the voter that
it's a hindrance. Have that. Anything that's a hindrance needs to be taken care of.
So this is how we do it. Let me tell you.
You just did.
No, I didn't tell you the solution. I got a solution. The solution is that people who don't have the free identification, that we'll make it very easy to attain, will be able to vote via affidavit.
How do you get a free identification?
No, but let me tell you, just like we get a free ID for anything.
Driver's license.
No, just like we get any other identification. If you don't have the identification, I think Republicans and Democrats would agree that you vote via an affidavit, and that affidavit will then get checked to see whether or not you are a duly registered voter. And then that vote counts. It's foolproof.
But how do you know if they're on public assistance, they're citizens? What? How do you know if they're allowed to vote?
Because I just explained to you that if you
we just went through this with the whole voter ID, the whole driver's license ID, where now to fly, to use it, you have to have all this proof to get your driver's license to go fly.
Yes, and it will prove that you're a citizen on that license.
Did you object to that?
No, I didn't object to it at all. But that's also the
do you
driving
to it?
is not a right.
I object to anything that keeps people from voting when they couldn't
No, but
vote.
I mean, he's talking about the enhanced driver's thing.
We did that for driver's license. We just did this.
You had to prove that you're a
in order
citizen.
to fly
Right.
without a passport now, you have to have something called an enhanced driver's license.
Yeah, I know. To prove that you're a citizen, we have that.
It took years to do that.
Do you object to that?
No, I don't object to that. I have one. You have one? We all
I do
have
too,
one.
but that took years to do, and it kept getting extended and extended and extended. So what you're saying is we need those to be able to vote.
No, I did not say that. I said the Republicans' problem is this. They don't want to accept college identification. They don't want to accept other form of identification, but they will accept a gun permit or a gun club permit.
Well, don't forget,
and that's where you lose Democrats. I think we need a middle consensus.
What do you provide? What do you provide when you register versus when you vote?
The same
There's
thing
two
you
things.
provide when you walk into any building in New York City. The same thing you provide when you go anywhere. All of us have identifications.
In New York City, they give their own ID they made up here.
Well,
and what happens when you go to the town clerk in upstate New York?
You vote
or
by
you go in,
affidavit, and it gets checked.
and you bring in a birth certificate from another state. Oh, is that real? Is that they will not? What town clerk that does a great job?
The affidavit will only count as a vote once the citizenship thing is checked. It's foolproof. President Trump, Congress, if you're listening, I got your answer. You vote the affidavit and you allow the boards of elections to check whether that person is a registered voter.
Election day is November, results in January when you do that.
No way. It's actually
All those paper ballots. New York just cleaned it up to get it done by election.
You will only be able to vote. You can still do that now.
California will be
In
a
New York,
speed demon given this.
Marcia, when you go to vote in New York now, if you are not on the voter rolls, you vote via affidavit. The Board of Elections then checks whether or not you were in fact the
And usually they count them.
That's all I'm asking.
They usually count them within a week.
Yes, but that's all I'm saying.
Anything that's being done, whether it be immigration, whether it be any widget issue we talk about, what commonly happens on each side of the aisle is there's an overcorrection back and forth. What happens here now is the same type of thing. If one side says go this way, the other side goes, oh, we have to go the other way. And the next thing you know, there's not a checks and balance to register to vote. They all register. Then there's not a checks and balance on who voted that day and matched them up.
There is.
Once they're in the system, then you're taking them off the rolls.
Those are the old days. There is now. That's the
old days we're in today.
I gave you the Polanco solution, Marcia, right here on the point, and I think it could work nationally.
You still haven't articulated that, dude.
I
doesn't
did.
work. No,
I did. You just keep saying no.
But
you know it's good.
What has happened is when you go to register online to get your driver's license, when you move, any of the sort, and you automatically change your voter registration that way.
Yes.
That is a predicament that has happened because they want to make it also easy to register to vote, and it then has gone too far where people that shouldn't register to vote are voting.
I'm not worried about too easy. I'm worried about making sure that everyone who should have voted gets an opportunity to vote. And if you vote by affidavit, you'll be able to check whether someone was a citizen and registered vote and just happened.
But one vote that shouldn't have counted, one person that votes that shouldn't vote, cancels out the person that was legitimate.
But no one said to allow people who shouldn't have the right to vote. You have to be registered to vote, and you have to be a citizen.
But in your world, anyone can register.
No, I didn't.
Because you can do it online, like they just did in New Jersey.
Oh, come on! I didn't say that.
By the way, how many people checked the box to say they were a citizen and they weren't? And then they didn't vote, but they just did it because it was a mistake.
You
no,
see,
it could be an honest mistake.
I find a solution, Marcia.
But that could be an honest. Marcia, that could be an honest mistake. How many times we filled out forms and go, oh, we have to go back and do it again?
But that's
you know
exactly
what? I got my
happened
driver's
in New Jersey.
license. They registered me to vote. If I don't vote, I did nothing wrong.
Guys, before that, I want to thank you for joining me. Before there's blood on the set, I'm going to.
Are we going to announce a podcast? Just keep this thing going again. We'll get a wheel. We'll put all the issues up. We'll spin it and talk about that one, then talk about that one. Which one we want to talk about?
We're going to have to do this again.
We'll put Warner Wolf. We'll go to the videotape next.
Marcia, I shaved. You didn't say anything.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Marcia.
And thank you at home for joining us as well.
I hope I was tame enough today.